All right, guys, listen, Andrew usually does the intro, but I put him up to this because I sent him a message yesterday, and I said, how often does Dior make balloons for soccer players? And the article that I read said that Messi has now won 7 Dior balloons. And he told me I was an idiot, that it's not a balloon being made by Christian Dior that they're giving to a soccer player. It's some sort of a balloon. I don't know. You tell me, because I don't know soccer. But you know what he tells me? He goes, listen, Cage, I can't explain this to you. Right? You're an idiot. But we've got some folks who know soccer. I'm going to have them on because it's funny. We had on LAFC Gooner a little while ago, and we got more messages about that episode. Are we going to do more soccer? Are we going to talk more soccer? You know, everybody's really into soccer. And I'm like, I don't know. And look, Andrew leaves. And then he's gone. And he disappears. So we said, might as well do it. Plus, I kind of stumped Andrew. We do, on the weekends, we do a fractional report where we talk about, different items that are up on the collectible marketplace doing, fractional shares. And one of the things that I brought up to him was, that Messi's cards, there was a basket of Messi rookie cards that had gone down this week. And I asked him a pretty leading question, like, what's going on? Is this PSG move, a good thing for him? You name it. And he was almost stumped. I think he was just shocked that I was asking questions. I think I said Messi played for a team called PSG. I got it wrong. I had him playing for a power company. But it is what it is, guys. I'm not a soccer expert, and that's why we bring you guys on. So without further ado, I got through an intro, Andrew. You didn't interrupt me. I was expecting an intro. Why don't you introduce who we have here, and let's get talking about some soccer.
Well, I think these gentlemen don't realize the pressure that's on their shoulders today. We are following up a record listener day, 2,000 listens. So record listener day. And I hope we could add some value. So Miles, we've had on plenty of times, and ever since we've had you on, people keep asking us questions when we have Miles on. We need more footy talk, all that stuff. And just want to give you a shout out, man. You do a great job with your Instagram stories. Like, even when I don't watch the soccer games, I could go back and he does like these clips with a little bit of analysis. Highly recommend LAFC Gooner. And Edwin, anybody who says they're from the Netherlands and is an Ajax fan, it raises my eyebrow. I'm like, Ajax plays the beautiful football, beautiful game. It came from there, right? Johan Cruyff. So I wanted to have a soccer episode. I brought these guys on. And without further ado, I'll start with Edwin. We'll go to Miles because everybody knows you, Miles. We've had you on. Edwin, can you give people, the 60-second, spiel on soccer, why you love the game, and kind of your history?
Sure. So I was born in the Netherlands, moved to Germany, lived there for 10 years, lived in Belgium, France, all over Europe, moved to San Diego in 89, and just moved to Charleston 6 months ago. So I'm sort of a 3/4 American with still a lot of Dutch in me, obviously. And when you grow in Holland, you grow up in a city. And if it's Rotterdam, then you're a Feyenoord fan. If it's Utrecht, you're an Utrecht fan. If it's Amsterdam, there's only one club, and it's called AFC Ajax, not Ajax, please. So it's Ajax Amsterdam. And
not Ajax?
No, not Ajax.
So all those years I was watching Ajax play Barca, I had it wrong.
So it's Ajax Amsterdam. I played soccer all my life. I love what the U.S. is doing. And, it's interesting. COVID kind of got me into this whole card business. I never collected cards. I've played it all my life. I have a bunch of Ajax stuff. I know a lot of Ajax players, been to many Ajax games. But COVID kind of got me into this whole card thing. And I'm just so intrigued with what this is doing on the market side and how Europe is starting to really get on this whole thing. And I just love everything about it, the hobby, and of course the game itself.
I love it. And we'll get into it, guys. We'll talk a little bit about, what's happening in soccer right now. We'll talk about Man U. We'll talk about the World Cup. Miles, for the 3 people out there who listen to us who don't know you, give them the 60-second spiel on, LAFC Gooner. By the way, whoever cut your hair deserves a raise because it looks amazing. You might beat Cage for best hair today. Sorry, Cage.
Let's see. Not many COVID cuts. Let's see. Collected for about at least 20 years at this point. Casual soccer fan growing up, impossible to watch games, wasn't televised. Grew up in an Asian family that rooted for France, so rooted for French team. favorite club became Arsenal because basically all of France's starting 11 was Arsenal. So picked up my club from there. Got really into it when NBC finally got the rights to broadcast everything on TV. And now that it's accessible, just let the fandom went full on, right?
I love it.
Listen, I don't know anything about soccer, but I have one question to ask because it's, beginner question. I mean, I don't know anything. Was Lewandowski robbed? Because I think he was robbed. Beginner question.
Who wants to
Do I
go?
go, Edwin, or should I?
Go ahead. You give me your opinion. I'll give you mine.
All right. This is going to sound really odd, but I think he was robbed purely on an emotional basis. So the Ballon d'Or is a magazine written by a French football magazine. It's an award, it's not like the National Baseball Writers Association all banding together and voting on the MVP every year. It's more of one specific country and one magazine started awarding an award that got prestigious enough to become considered like one of the most valuable. So then last year, I'm going to assume because Ligue 1, France's league, suspended play and canceled their season early, they decided not to award the Ballon d'Or in 2020. So in 2020, Lewandowski not only scored the most goals across Europe, he scored the most goals in every competition that he played in and won every competition that you played in. So people make these arguments about he doesn't pass much, he's not an assist man. But if you're built to be a prototypical number 9 and your goal is literally to score the most goals you possibly can, and you score the most goals in every tournament you play in and win every tournament you play in, how much more can you do as that specific player in a specific year span? So this goes into 2021, where Messi had an excellent 2021 up until he moved to PSG, changed systems, and has been struggling. So I would have said up until that point, the award probably was Messi's to lose. And then his performances haven't been great to start the season. Things are starting to look better, but he hasn't really turned the corner. Now, I really wanted Lewandowski to win only because
you have his cards.
If not now, whenever, right? If not now, whenever. And it feels like, he deserves an award. And it only felt worse because they gave him a novel award for 2021. Yeah. And that only rubs salt in the wound for someone who clearly deserved it from the year before. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw some in there too. So one thing you got to know, Lewandowski broke a record by the famous bomber, B-O-M-B-E-R, Gerd Müller. That record stood for, 50 years? And nobody thought that was going to be broken. As a matter of fact, on the last day, he broke that record. And I didn't even know how the Germans were going to react to that, because Gerd Müller is one of the greatest strikers, greatest players ever. Won the World Cup, broke our hearts, the Dutch hearts, in '74. And when he broke that record, I was just flabbergasted, because that's such a crazy number.
Say it again. Say it again, because
the Gerd Müller, the bomber, right? They call him the bomber.
Growing up, I was a striker, and my dad would always say the word bombardier. He would say bombardier.
He was literally.
What are you talking about?
Ironically, it's the German bomber. Politically, you couldn't even say that these days, because that's not correct. This all has to do with World War II, the Germans, and all that BS that goes into that. But regardless to that, one of the greatest players. Lewandowski beats the record. I thought for sure, I was like, wow, that's just such an iconic record. But I will say Messi this year winning finally the Copa America, and I watched every game. And he, in my opinion, has become a much more complete player. He's given assists. He still scored most goals in La Liga. He won the Copa del Rey, and under difficult circumstances. Now, was Lewandowski robbed? If I was in his feet, I probably would feel that. But if I look, just from me looking at who I think is the best player in the world, and it's hard. It's not the MVP, which it's just that silly award. To what Gooner said about the French writers, In my opinion, Messi is still the best player in the world. There's no doubt. So should he have won it from a performance basis? I don't know. But should he have won it because he's the best player in the world still to this date? Yes.
I'm just happy I know who Lewandowski was to be able to ask that question. That wasn't exactly a beginner question.
Edwin, what's the record? What's the record? It's most goals in a season, because soccer is such a weird sport, right? You have international and club, and it gets like this. It's so messy and blurry. What?
It's messy.
I want to say it's like 50 goals. I want to say it was like 50 goals in a Bundesliga season. That was my guess.
Yeah. I'm gonna cheat and look it up because I have to see what he did with Bayern Munich. But what did he do here? It's weird. Gooner, what do you think of this? Okay, this is just purely me. Lewandowski hasn't qualified for the World Cup with Poland. Messi has. Messi is going to be the guy to market the sport in Qatar. Not going to be Ronaldo.
First off,
not going to be Jorginho. So maybe that had something to do with it too, because ultimately it's a marketing ploy too.
First off, how great are the qualifying matches that we got? Right? Like, they're all so good. Like, so Cage. So basically,
isn't Portugal in a draw with, is it Italy or somebody? There's one where one of them is not going to make it.
Correct.
That's exactly what happened.
Both maybe.
So
hey,
they had the
You're gonna
European
give yourself
draw.
a pat on the back for every single comment.
Every single one. Yes, but here's the thing.
Are you going to watch the game?
I want people to know I am rooting for PSG, because in addition to Neymar and Messi and Mbappe, they just signed Lewis Hamilton, and it's just going to be nuts. That team is going to be crazy. No good.
I'm laughing.
I put these two together. I put F1.
I'm sympathy laughing.
Yeah,
the support.
That's right.
Am I going to watch the games? Most likely not. Most likely, I will watch highlights. Right, I'll watch highlights.
What about the final? What if it's Italy, Portugal winning in?
So
would you watch that?
Cup, like when it's the World Cup and it's like the games that matter, where you're getting down to 8 teams left or something like that, I'll watch that. The qualifiers, I'm a typical American idiot. I'll watch the USA team and be disappointed.
I would give yourself a pat on the back for that comment, because that's the truest thing I've heard all day. To answer your question, Edwin, I agree with you. It was what I said on the fractional report. I said, I think Messi's cards have so much opportunity to run, just on the fact that this is his final World Cup, more than likely. It's his final chance. Argentina has never – they're always lacking something. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think. I don't think Argentina really has a chance to win. Every year they lack something defensively and with their goalkeeping. Curious to hear your guys' thoughts. You're the experts. I'm not – I played soccer. I don't know it as well as I would like.
Let's just put it this way. The amount of pressure that Messi gets every time he's in the Argentinian team is absolute insane. So now that he's overcome the Copa America, maybe he has a lot more freedom just to play. I mean, they've got a lot of young players, a lot of young talent. I would say they're up in the they're definitely up there as some of the top 5 favorites, in my opinion.
Do you think Kuhn being out is actually a benefit, right? Like, I always watch this Argentina team, and I feel like they're all the same type of player, right? Like, they all have these incredible playmaking forwards, but how many of those can you have, right? A good team has a balance, right? It has players that complement each other versus do the same things.
I think having Latrano will be interesting, because they'll finally have speed up top again. I mean, Dybala's played much better this season than he did in Ronaldo's shadow. Di Maria has continued to play well. I mean, they changed out some pieces, but their team is still so young with a lot of talent. I can't say that they're going to be bad. It's just if this is the group that finally clicks.
All right, let's shift. So, Man U, right? Man U, kind of a disaster start to the season. Now they have, I can't pronounce the guy's name, but he's Dutch, right, as well. Can someone help me out with the name? Right.
Who, from the Beek? Donny?
No.
Interim manager.
Rob Ragnarsson.
Oh,
yes.
oh.
Is he German or is he Dutch?
No, he's not Dutch.
irrelevant. What do you think? Do you think Cristiano's cards have a little bit of opportunity to run? Do you think this Man U team turns it around? Curious if you guys have any takes on Man U and the EPL.
So for me, I actually love it as a long-term prospect. So how this guy got famous is that he took two struggling teams that basically had nothing, Hoffenheim and then more recently, so Red Bull Leipzig. So he built two teams from the ground, brought in tons of talent, developed them all, which includes like Haaland and several other stars, built them from the ground up and these large projects. So like, I posted the other day, I really feel like Cage, it's like when Farhan Zaidi left the A's, went to Moneyball and played big boy with the Dodgers. Now, what can you do with that development philosophy with $1 billion checkbook, right? So like, I think he left a project in Zagreb, I want to say, no, Moscow. He left a project in Moscow. He said he was going to be committed to, but like, if you know that you can spot talent and develop something, I'm sure having that advisorship with an unlimited checkbook is really what brought him over. It's like, this is the first time I've seen United do something so forward thinking so recently. It's like not only for the now, but for the future. And, as an Arsenal fan, that actually scares me.
I would say this. He's not Dutch, he's German, and German coaches, man, they are damn good. They have disciplines, that German discipline, I think that Man United lacks. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think Man U is a chance in hell to, I don't know, maybe finish the top 4. I don't know. It's going to be tough. But if anybody can pull it out of Ronaldo and the team, this German guy might be able to do it. So we'll see.
They're 8th now. And, 5-6 points out of 4th, so nothing crazy. It's still so early on. Edwin, you said you got into cards, right? You're a soccer guy through and through, Ajax, and you got into cards during COVID. What was that like? I mean, it's probably the perfect time to get into soccer cards because, I mean, they were booming across the board. Can you take us back a year and share what that experience was like?
Yeah. So a friend of mine, Danny, called me up. And he's like, hey, man, he's a big tech guy and made a little bit of money. And his buddy was a big NBA sports card fan. And he's like, you know anything about sports cards? He goes, oh, you mean those baseball trading cards? He's like, yeah. I said, the market just gone absolutely crazy. Soccer. I think that's the next big thing. Give me some players I should buy right now. So right around this time, November last year, I said, buy anything Haaland, buy anything Mbappe, buy anything Pedri, and basically I did research for a week to look at like the big talents that are coming up. And I said, buy these cards. And he did. And next thing I know, he's like, wrote me a check. And he's like, thanks a lot, man. I just made literally XYZ dollars on these. And I was like, holy cow. So I started saying, okay, well, this is kind of cool. But for me, it was a lot more than just the business side of things, because it brought me back to my childhood. I started looking not for Haaland necessarily, only Ronaldo and Messi. Started educating myself a little bit, probably wasted a lot of money not knowing what to buy, but then really started to look at some of the old school players that I followed when I grew up, 70s, 80s players, 90s players. And I just saw to get an autograph from Marco van Basten, who 3-time Ballon d'Or winner, one of the greatest strikers ever, career short, ended at age 28, I believe. And it just brought back a lot of memories. And I started following a lot of videos online and basically just all of a sudden also saw these rare cards and all these crazy cards. And I just said, I'm just going to stick with soccer because that's what I know. I know who's good. I don't know anything about, I do know basketball quite well, but not in this particular business. But like I said, the hobby as it is a hobby because I love it. My kids love it. But really just the strategy behind this whole thing was, I said, okay, it's 2020. We're going to have the Euros next year. We're going to have another Copa America. We're going to have the World Cup. Then we're going to have another Euros and another Gold Cup. And then we're going to have the North America World Cup, which is the World Cup 2026, Canada, USA, Mexico. And I said, okay, from a business perspective, this is going to be a great investment because I think it's fun. It's what I know, and kind of targeting that 4-year span, buy some, sell some, trade some. As a matter of fact, Gooner was the first person I ever traded something with on the floor.
Is that right?
Look at that.
What did you get?
He should. We actually met at the National, and he showed me. It's one of the most sought after cards in the vintage space. It was a 71 Monty Gum Cruyff. So you can look it up. It looks really cool. It's the little, like, it's got him with a circle of soccer balls. It's one of the rarest Cruyffs you can find. And, I want to say I want to say there's maybe like 100 of them in the world, right? And you just like sitting there and like some guy just strolls up with you with one of them. I mean, kind of a big card to find, right? Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I started saying, okay, how can I look at cards that are not readily available here on eBay in the US? And I'm a tech guy, so I started using my VPN to go on eBay Netherlands, eBay France, Spain, England, Italy, and really started finding stuff I couldn't even buy here. And one of them was this iconic Johan Cruyff card, which I did actually get graded. So it did get graded, got authenticated. Granted, it's 1.5, but it's one of those cards that I've had offers for 10 grand for it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll hold on to it just because Johan Cruyff is the most iconic player in the Netherlands. And I don't think we'll ever top 5 in the world history of the game. And, but it's funny because when I went to this show, so I went to this card, the Nationals, I was overwhelmed, man. I was like, what am I doing here? And then I found Gooner and I was like, first guy I talked to, and he was so passionate about the hobby. And I said, man, this guy I got to keep in touch with. Spent like 30 minutes, looked at some of his cards that he had. And just because he understood some of the old players I had, made me be part of this whole thing, even though I'm a newbie. So I absolutely love this. I love that my son is into it. He's into Pokemon cards. And,
Fortnite's better.
It's great. It's a great word.
I'm just messing. Someone trolled us on our recent post about Pokemon, so I just keep using the joke.
Oh, it's great. I mean,
he's like, Pokemon's stupid. Fortnite's so much better. I'm putting all my money into it. And so should you.
But it's a financial tool for the kids to learn business. I keep telling my son, hey, if you want to buy some, you got to sell some or collect them. And it's not just all about the money. I think that's the big, big thing, right? If you're in it purely for the business, then you got to have passion for it. And
is it fair to call Cruyff the Steph Curry of soccer? And stay with me. What I mean by that, guys.
Okay.
So before Cruyff came, defenders defended, forwards played forward, right? And they created it out of the Netherlands. Ajax deserves credit for this. It's called total football, right? Complete soccer, whatever. 4-4-2, where everyone moves up, everyone moves back. And they changed the game. Right now, everybody plays like that. You even see now teams press all the way up the field. Is it fair to say that Cruyff will have that legacy, or do you think most people don't know about it or aren't aware?
Oh, for sure. He will be known as, again, in my opinion, top 5 of greatest players, right up there with Pele, Maradona. Who else? Who am I missing? Messi, obviously, and Zidane, Ronaldo. He's right there, right? It's hard, different era, different type of play. But what he brought to the game is just so different. And what I respect from him more than anything, he didn't take shit from anybody. He should have won 2 World Cups, but he decided that he didn't want to deal with the political BS of the Dutch Soccer Federation. And he just as Dutch are, very stubborn. And he said, I could care less. I said, they should have won the 74 World Cup. Instead, they were drinking, smoking, hanging out with hookers and stuff the night before. And they should have won the game. And it's tragic.
Mason Greenwood just born at the wrong time.
And nothing to take away from Beckenbauer and the Germans. But to your point, has he and Cruyff and the Dutch soccer, have they changed the game? Very much so, as Spain has done with tiki-taka in 2008 upwards to 2018. Same thing. So, yeah, he's right up there. I think that's a good comparison if people want to ask, well, who is this guy? I think you can do that.
By that same token, then, Miles, would you say Xavi and Iniesta are worth, as their legacy kind of – Xavi now is Barcelona manager, right? And, I mean – they created that system, right? That 2008 to 2012 Barcelona team, some of the most beautiful soccer. Would you be looking at Iniesta and Xavi cards? And if you are, I don't want to blow up your spot here, but
I mean, the rookies are
just terrible.
Yeah. The rookies are doing great. I mean, the rookies are doing great. I think the problem with their 2 rookies is that most of them are like unattractive cards. They kind of look goofy. I think that's the thing that's holding them back. Like, the aesthetics are like, there's so few releases for a lot of this stuff. The aesthetics like really, really matter. Like, people even gravitate to later year cards because they just look better than the previous ones. And it's just like it's the same with like that 71 Monty Gum Cruyff, right? There's certain cards that like look good and then some grow on later. There you go. But they're doing great.
like this one, you're saying not the most aesthetically pleasing.
There's one other I've seen which isn't much better, to be honest, but like the designs are like, I feel like it's like that true like 90s like junk wax 90s design, which like is holding it back. There's no like nostalgia feeling for it, and then also like you're already like kind of like reaching for a lot of people to find like what they consider a goat. That's the Monty Gum right there.
It's the only reason why I haven't bought my Roberto Baggio cards yet. They're just hideous.
You don't like the rat tail?
And so is his hair. I mean, the mullet is just fantastic.
This is a cool card. This is a really cool card. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's all part, like, it's all part of the collectability of a lot of these things. And remember, like, they're super hard to find, right? All that stuff is super hard to find to start with. But maybe in time, when people appreciate Xavi and Iniesta, they just don't have like the stats or the awards. But if you watch the game, they were just truly magicians of the sport. Just changed everything, and we'll see it when Barcelona start playing a little better. Like, how they'll change the game with him as a coach.
What I think is impressive, and I would look at Pep Guardiola cards as well, because I don't love him, but he changed the game. There was no manager, there was no team that I saw that would go on the road and play the same way that they would at home, right? Like, I think that was always such a subtle shift. You played, Champions League at home, you got your result, and then on the road you were okay with the tie. But you see, even this Man City team, right? I thought that PSG had a chance to beat them just last week. And they just dominant, relentless pressure. Even though they're clearly under-talented, you can't say that this Man City team is as talented as Man City teams of the past. Am I onto something? Am I crazy?
I don't think so at all. I mean, the coaching matters so much with tactics. Like, you can see, like, I'm like going back to the United thing. I can't believe how long Ole stayed at the wheel. Because you could just tell he was just outmatched tactically every game, refusing to change his players, refusing to change shape. He was just so like stubborn. Like, if I were to recommend a newbie, like, there's an All or Nothing series on Amazon for Tottenham, and Jose Mourinho is the coach that year. If you really want to like get into the tactics and understand like how great the forward thinking they are, you should watch some of the locker room talks of how he like builds his structure.
Mourinho?
Mourinho, yep.
Wow. That's interesting. I wouldn't think that Mourinho is very forward-thinking.
I have his rookie, too, 1984 Topps, Dan Mourinho. So here's a question I have for you guys, right? So, well, it's fun. It's a nice card. This is Dolphins. So, most of the people,
at SeaWorld.
Yeah, he's rescuing a dolphin. Yeah. So Edwin, you might actually be a good one on this one also because of the route that you've taken. Obviously, Gooner, you can chime in as well. You're throwing names around that a lot of people listening probably have never heard of.
Yep.
And those are the greats of the game. I mean, Edwin started talking about the top 5 players of the game, and Ronaldo just barely made the cut, right? But it's hard to come up with that.
About the real Ronaldo.
Right, I know.
That's right.
I know. Not the little Ronaldo, not Ronaldinho, the tiny Ronaldo. I get it. So anyway, so I guess my thought, and there's a lot of this with every sport, right? Where people want to have a connection to what's being played right now. It's why Messi and Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo cards are worth what they're worth, because people can still watch them. They invest in them. They watch them playing now. Messi's still playing at a really high level. I guess my question for you guys is, do you preach? I mean, you made a nice finder's fee on it before, but do you preach now with the way the market has moved in the last 12 to 24 months? Do you preach a little bit of pump the brakes, a little bit of pause on people investing in the Haaland, Mbappe, Camavinga, whoever else they might be throwing their money into now. When you see that their cards are priced as much as, if not more than in some instances, some of the all-time greats of the game who just no one knows their name. Would you tell people kind of diversify, put a little bit of both, do a little research and look at the guys who came before? Because some of the players now, they can only dream of having the careers that some of the guys who came before them had, and no one's going after their cards. So what do you guys say to that kind of question from someone who doesn't really know what the hell he's talking about?
I'm, for one, a huge fan of the legendary players of the 50s. Graninja from Brazil. Just Google him and look up his story, which is fascinating, right?
I always called him Guarincha. I say it very wrong. Say it again for me.
Graninja, I think.
I have a card with him and Pele on the same card.
There you go. So that one.
He has two legs, different size. One is longer than the other.
He
just goes in circles.
There's Di Stefano. I mean, all-time great, Real Madrid. Man, you can go on and on. There's a guy in the Netherlands who it's a Dutch guy that came out with, these are playing cards, and they're called Van der Hout play cards. And I'm trying to get him to sell me one. He wants a lot of money for it, and I haven't seen any comps, but it's George Best, Di Stefano, Johan Cruyff, Garinja, and Pele. And the only hesitation I have in buying those is because Pele, the drawing from Pele would probably be considered a little racist in today's day and age, because it's got like the thick lips, and which he really doesn't have, which is kind of ironic. So, but the cards from the 50s and 60s players, the forgotten ones, the great ones, that's what I've been starting to look at a little bit. And those can be found, even the 70s, obviously. I just recently got a killer, Hugo Sanchez, maybe the best Mexican player ever. So I keep looking into some of these guys that I grew up with, or even that my dad grew up with, and really enjoy collecting those.
Did they call George Best the fifth Beatle? Is that true?
I never saw him play. That's the only regret. I never saw him play, and every English person or Man United fan always says that he was the greatest player England ever had.
It's funny, like, you see Cristiano Ronaldo and how much he takes care of his body now, and he doesn't drink, and he's like, straight edge. If you went back in time to like what those players did and still showed up and played, it's kind of funny, right? Like when you hear about those stories, those fables, like whether they're true or not, kind of irrelevant. What if we don't even go back that far? Like Van Persie, Miles, like you got to love Van Persie, right?
How am I supposed to love? Are you serious?
You hate Van Persie.
Wait, is this a serious question?
Serious question.
Okay, I'm gonna
give me a comparison. It's like me liking Reggie Miller.
If I was a Thunder fan and KD left for the Warriors and then won a chip the year after.
No, I think he did Van Persie did what he could do. He took Arsenal as far as he could, and he was just like, look, you guys are not making any changes. I'm going to go to Man United, and then he became Premier League Player of the Year. I mean, I wish we had him right now. He was such a great player.
He was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Are you, Edwin, an Arsenal fan as well?
No.
Or are you Man U?
No. I'm not. I'm an Ajax fan. As an Ajax fan, I like watching teams, but if you say, who do you like in England? I honestly could care less. But if you're an Ajax fan, you're an Ajax fan. I can't root for another club.
But let's go back to, like, what if we even just go to that 2000 to 2000 era, right? Like Thierry Henry, Bergkamp. Are those guys cardboard relevant, Miles?
I think absolutely. I mean, the prices fluctuate, but the rookies, okay.
They better be, man. My Alexi Lawless collection is growing.
So, Cage, I think you'll agree with this, right? Like, people were saying a lot the last year to buy the GOATs, and people misplaced their money buying things like the paper Kobe PSA 10 or maybe paper LeBron 10s, right? Things that there were a lot of, and those weren't the chase cards when those cards came out, right? People were looking for different cards, especially like immediately there or the immediate years after. So they were buying the right players, but conceptually they were buying the wrong cards. So I don't think that argument exists in soccer because across the board, there's literally only one set for most of the players, like maybe a few releases for every player. So the number of sets they're in is very low. And then second, the populations of all the cards are, well, in most cases, actually stickers are also very low. And then three, the stickers were meant to be destroyed. They're meant to be taken apart and put into a book. So it's not like, you have like exponentially more cards because the cards are being opened from pack into sleeve into a PSA holder. There was some breakage, a substantial amount of breakage that happened along the way that was intentional. So like actually finding the relevant things of great players, you can't really miss that hard because everything is so scarce. Yeah. Like Edwin brought up a really good point, and that's something that a lot of I hope your listeners do and expand their horizons out of just buying cards on like eBay US. They have sister sites all over the world that have different collectibles. Like there are basketball collectors out in Germany and all in Europe. Like there's good stuff internationally that people just are not tapping into. And that's with eBay, right?
And you would do that by VPNing or just literally changing the region?
Change VPN, and obviously like you choose country. So if things are in the Netherlands, that gives you different results. And it's interesting, my buddy who I do business with in the Netherlands, he has an awesome store, but his cards aren't all shown in the United States. So his reach is very limited. And, here in the US, the sports market, the card market is so huge. I was telling a friend of mine, Wim Janssen, good name for you guys to know. Wim Janssen was on 2 World Cup final teams, 74 and 78. Great player, one of the top Oranje players. And his son has a sports business where he does VIP tour packages for the Champions League. So if you got 500 grand to spend, he'll have you meet Messi on the center pitch and go to the locker room, and you get his jersey and all that crazy stuff. And I was telling him about
Andrew couldn't even meet Ronaldinho.
Ronaldinho, right? Ridiculous. But I was telling him about these sports cards, and he was just,
I took care of a friend.
He had no clue. He was like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "Man, this is so big here in the United States, and soccer is just scratching the surface." Now, England, I hear there's a lot of collectors. I did not know. Any Inception box that you find, basically everybody in England bought those for like £100 and is selling them on eBay for $1,000. Absolutely crazy. But a lot of these guys have never been able to come over here because of COVID to show their card collection. So I'm sure there's just some gems overseas and also in Asia, that we probably haven't even seen yet.
What I'm hearing, Cage, it's honestly your theory recycled to soccer. It's that one true rookie, right? It's why you own a Montana. It's why you own a Rice. You've made this time and time again. You made this clear. Like you love that, lack of certainty. This is their true rookie.
It makes most of soccer interesting. I'll tell you, it's also dangerous because like Pele, Gooner, we've talked about this. Like that Cui goal was the one.
Yeah,
it wasn't
that was the one.
It wasn't the alphabet soup one. And now it's the alphabet soup. Now it's Alif Apology, Now that's the card. Because Cui goal, they changed the year on it. They went from 58 to 61 or some craziness. So
I mean, that's the that's the risk that everything plays, right? Like when you're early to market, you better be damn sure your research is right, because think about this dynamic, right? And Cage, I think you have experience in this where not most collectors have, is that typically the relationship of PSA and a customer is us submitting cards to PSA for them to authenticate it. What if it's the other way around, where PSA doesn't have that information yet and they're still trying to build out their library and they lean on collectors to provide them that information, right? This is the thing. This is the part of their brand building that none of the other grading companies provide value-wise to the customer. So when that relationship changes, the risk is astronomically higher, and the rewards are also substantially higher. But again, you have to be the one actually doing your research, and things can change in a minute. Things can change in a minute because it's a living piece of history.
Listen, I didn't even know that Gazzetta, the 58 Gazzetta one, the one that is a cut card where they either have it hand cut Pele himself and one, or a panel with him and Garincha on the same. I didn't even know it existed. And then all of a sudden, it started popping up on auctions. I didn't even know it was out there when I was doing it. I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, right? Like, we're delving into such a obscure kind of thing, right? Like, you want like random ass Pele collectibles that small companies made in Brazil in the middle of the 50s, right? How are you supposed to like people can barely scrape the internet for like in now, right? For other countries and things like that. How are you going to find it in like, Brazil in the middle of nowhere, and things can just pop up. Things can literally just pop up.
The metaphor for me that I think we're going to see is, I mean, soccer is a very old sport, but baseball was always the sport, right? And you see, like, there's room for Gowdy, there's room for all of those different Babe Ruths. Do we see something similar with soccer in the next 10 to 15 years where there's a marketplace for all of them, and we look at Pele as the Honus Wagner?
100%. I think so.
Absolutely.
If that alla full of baloney, all full of baloney Pele, if that turns into a Honus Wagner, I'm going to jump over a bridge because I had one of those and I don't have it anymore.
You can rebuy it now. You won't.
You can still rebuy it now, Cage.
I won't rebuy it now.
He won't.
Because that is admitting defeat.
And the funniest thing is he wouldn't have held it anyway.
I wouldn't have held it anyway. I would have sold it 14 times for it now.
So as we always do with our show, guys, this show was put together very interestingly. And this is what I think makes our community so special. So we had Miles on for the 10 for 10 soccer. Edwin, I'm going to share his Instagram handle at the end. I'm sure if people reach out, you're more than happy to answer DMs. But, you reach out, you're like, hey, if you ever want to talk soccer, let's talk. And we had the Messi thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I saw, Gooner and he's helped me with the Instagram. I literally started that like 3 months ago, and I got 1,000 followers, and I got great cards, and I always ask for advice. But this is what I love about this hobby, alongside with Whatnot, which is, oh my God, it's Whatnot is like the new Las Vegas for sports cards collector and memorabilia collectors. Oh my God. I do want to share a quick story about Whatnot, if I may. Can I?
Sure. Your mic went out for just a second there. It was good.
Sorry about that.
Cool.
So my son and I, we were sitting here. Wife was out of town. I was on Whatnot with the Chicago sports guys. Those guys are awesome. Those guys are crazy. And I had a little bit too much to drink, and they had one.
I like where the story's going, by the way. Wife's out of town, a little too much to drink. And among Whatnot.
I had a platinum box available, which was the NFL that contains the Kaboom cards. $500. So I say buy, and they're like, all right. And it's midnight. Kid's already asleep. And I'm like, what am I doing? And they pull open the pack, and he's like, we got a Kaboom. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I got a Mac Jones rookie Kaboom. And
I saw that.
Yeah, that was me. And I just sent it to PSA. Just got it back today. It's a PSA 9. So not 10, but hey, still incredible, right? And it's like, I'm not an NFL guy, so I was like, anybody wants to buy it, go ahead and buy it. But that story of Whatnot, that you can grab one of those cards, and that goes for all these guys. Like Pecco does a great job every Sunday. I love that guy. He's awesome. It's such another great way to get people to look at soccer, at Pokemon, at sports cards, educate them. I just love what the last 2 years have done for guys like me who just start on this, right? YouTube is there with great YouTube channels. Like I said, Gooner does such a great job with his name and with the cards that he has. I love how he posts, not just a card and say, hey, here's my card, little story behind the facts. Educate people. That's our job. People that are new to soccer, we need to educate them. I love doing it. It's just a lot of fun.
Listen, for Whatnot, there's a guaranteed way to make money. Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Come on. Andrew gets football picks. Bet against them.
Every
guaranteed
single
money. Just fade Andrew. Hashtag fade Andrew.
You know what I like? We keep saying the hobby's growing. People have entered the hobby in the last 6 months, 2 years, and we all have this vision of what they look like. They're 20 to 25-year-old, 20 to 30-year-olds, young males, but it's so much different than what we imagine here. Edwin came into the hobby a year and a half ago.
53.
53 years old. And I mean, you do this with your son, but it was kind of purely also on your own interests. Right.
Well,
So
how do you
people
beat
join.
it? He's enjoying it, having fun, buying the stuff he loves, having an emotional tie to it, reminiscing, watching these guys play, bringing his son into it, and probably making some decent coin while doing it as well. So how do you? I mean,
Yes.
how do you beat that?
Yes and no. So, like to what Gooner said earlier, I wish I would have known a few things before I started buying wildly. Like I bought high. I bought in the high mark. I bought Messi, Campeones PSA 9 for like $5,000. That car you can have for 3.5. But that's okay. That's gonna go up. I'm not too worried about it. But the emotional tie to it, I had a hard time letting go of that Neymar that I sold to you at the show, Gooner, and haven't been able to find one. And I kick myself on the head sometimes for it. But you know what? You got to do that. The guys that my son loves, Roth Cards, they do a great job on YouTube, and they always educate the younger kids to say, you buy a card for 100, sell it for 150. You just made $50. Now you can buy a higher card. Win some, you lose some. And I think that's so important. It's the economics. And it takes these guys, like I have got probably, 2,000 cards that I'm just going to give away at the Nationals next year, just to kids. There's rookies in there. I don't even have the time to look at them. There's probably some that are worth some, but I just want kids to really enjoy this and set the foundation for soccer, which really the U.S. national team has. They have, I don't think next year is going to be their year, but 2026, I see them go way far. And that's where I think these next 5
That'll
years
be
are going to
huge.
be great.
It's horrible to say, but America, if it's something we will watch, all of a sudden, you'll get a lot of interest, a lot of money in it.
Yep.
Gooner, good on you buying Neymar's cards. That is about as safe an investment as you can get because no matter what, his cards can't fall as much as he does. So
I actually just moved it.
I was
all
hoping.
into,
I was going to cue
into a
you.
Haaland, so I don't know what to tell you.
you got a Haaland? You got Haaland cards?
Yeah, I just picked up the Haaland base Immaculate Rookie to 50, the copper one.
See, Andrew thinks Haaland just plays in a really shitty league.
I
I'm
didn't
just
say
kidding.
that at all.
No.
The horror.
I didn't say that at all. No, dude.
Here's the beauty about soccer. We have Messi and Ronaldo, and that era is coming to an end. But here's going to be Mbappe and Haaland. That's going to be the next 10, 15 years. Trust me.
I got a lot of heat. I mean, I've gotten a lemon all over the world, apparently, maybe a few times over. I said I preferred Haaland to Mbappe because Haaland is a finisher and Mbappe is a shooter.
And by the way, you know what happened the next day? Mbappe had a hat trick. Because this is what Andrew does. You have to fade Andrew.
And remember, in the card market, when Haaland scored a hat trick, ESPN brought out an article on him that his auto rookie sold for like, what was it, 150 grand?
Isn't it crazy how mainstream it's become?
Miles, sorry, you were going to say something.
No, I was going to say, like, literally after we were worried about Mbappe, he just went on a tear.
Yeah.
Like, immediately after.
So, and guess what? Gooner, one of the reasons why Mbappe's gotten so good for France is one of the most undervalued and underrated guys on the card market, Karim Benzema. I mean, he might win the Ballon d'Or next year. I mean, with the season that he's having, I think Benzema right now is the best player in the world, honestly.
If you play for France, chances are you'll win.
I have two questions. I know you got to run in 9 minutes. I want to ask you. So when you guys heard about, I'll start with Miles. He has to bounce in 9 minutes. We have no time, but when you guys heard about the Super League, what was your first reaction? And now looking back, do you still have the same opinion or would you change it? Don't give me the finger, Miles. Just a question.
Hated it. Want nothing to do with it. Actually, I think like we should work exactly in the opposite and give smaller teams more opportunities because there's so much talent that's propping up literally in the smallest countries every single year this year that all these kids need places to shine. And like if you want to so they added like a new tier of European competition this year. It was it's Champions League, and then they had a second tier called Europa League, and then they added a third one even lower called Europa Conference League. There's so many guys I watch in that bottom one, in that bottom European Championship that will move their way up. Like I feel I've never not only I've never feel like I've watched more of the prospects growing up. For the card market, this actually brings a sustainable like rookie crop to make this hobby sustainable. So more opportunities, the better for me.
Yeah, when the Super League announcement came, I've been also a lot on the business side of things, knowing a lot of people and pro soccer players. I knew this was going to come. I just didn't know how they were going to roll it out. And the sneakiness behind the whole thing just ended up kicking them in the ass. And I'm glad that they didn't, because it would kill Dutch soccer. It would kill Belgium soccer. It would kill Scottish soccer. And all, to Gooner's point, the smaller leagues. I'm happy the way it is. Quite frankly, I was also very disappointed when the Champions League was introduced, because I really liked the Europa Cup 1, Europa Cup 2, and the UEFA Cup. And those were just a lot more fun to watch. Champions League is getting a little bit boring, and I think with the Super League it would have gotten even worse. So I'm glad to where it is right now, but don't call it a closed case. You know, the powers that be at the UEFA and FIFA have their fingers in everything. So who knows?
Well, they have a lot of money and they party and do drugs at 2 a.m. when they come out with their brilliant ideas. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a fan of the Super League. I was one of the only people, actually maybe the only one, because I do want to see Liverpool play Real Madrid and Liverpool Barca. And man, I just love seeing the best play against the best. But the way they rolled it out was like a third grade business project, you know? Yeah. They slap it together the night before. They're like, let's see what happens.
I think we'll see our own. I think, you know, with the money that's coming into the game, I think eventually we'll just see our own iterations of it within every league at this point. It's just so much money. You just can't stop. You literally just can't stop. Like now, like watching like the next 2 years, Newcastle will become a world powerhouse after spending $1 billion on players in the next 2 windows, right? Like it's going to happen so fast, right? Not to mention like, this is like what the third huge Saudi oil team, you know, they're desperately trying to throw money at this. Like with World Cup is in Qatar, like, it's only the money only grows from here. It only grows from here.
Yep.
So next 6 to 9 months, let's call it, you know, the end of the season for club and then World Cup. Give us some young guys, some prospects, and players that are under the radar that people listening might want to go and, you know, this is what I always recommend. Listen to experts, listen to people who watch the game, and then go on YouTube and do a little bit more research before deciding to buy. So I'll start with you, Miles, because you got to bounce, and then we'll go to Edwin and we'll wrap.
All right, my 2 really fast. Florian Wirtz, Bayern Leverkusen. I love him to death. The other guy out of Fiorentina, he's Serbian, Dusan Vlahovic.
Yep.
Love him to death. That guy is like half Zlatan and like half Drogba all rolled into one. He's a monster. He's a monster. You want YouTube highlights? Dusan Vlahovic.
Yep.
Dusan Vlahovic, and who is the other guy?
Florian Wirtz.
Florian Wirtz.
I have a bunch of his cards.
Do you really?
Yeah.
You do not?
Yeah. I have a couple of refractors because he was in the last release. He was in the last couple of releases. He plays for Bayern, right?
Yeah. No. Bayer Leverkusen. The guys that make
I have
every team in Germany is Bayern something.
Wirtz, Bellingham, and there was one other guy that were the big rookies in one of the releases. It was Wirtz, Bellingham, and who the hell else? I forget his name.
Mukoko.
Yeah, remember Muskaka, I say? I have all their cards because I opened up a bunch of boxes. So on Wirtz, I actually got a refractor.
Before we go to you, Edwin, how about USA for 2026? You know, is it Pulisic?
What a great player. Best player the US has ever had, in my opinion.
Why does he come off the bench for Chelsea?
Pardon?
Freddie Adu was rolling over in his grave, by the way.
He is great. He's a phenomenal player. I swear to God. I think, in my opinion, he's going to be the guy that's going to lead the U.S. U.S. just needs a little bit tougher defense and better finishing. But with Pulisic, I tell you, I've seldom seen, and I'm still pissed that Dest chose for the United States and not for the Netherlands.
I can't even think about that. I didn't even think about that. I really would love to see some minutes under Xavi at Barcelona. That would be very interesting. But Pulisic comes off the bench because Chelsea is good, not because Chelsea are substantially better, not because he's bad. And he can't ever stay healthy. That's the other problem too, obviously.
I mean, Mason Mount came off the bench this weekend too, and Mason Mount's fantastic as well.
Lukaku came off the bench.
I'm not a big Lukaku fan, but that's just my own 2 cents. I don't like guys with lead feet. Just if you're going to be big, but still have nice touch. I want to share a play here.
Edwin,
I got a nice touch. Anybody that you want to add prospect in this next 6-9 months?
Gavi for sure, and I mean Pedri's already won the Golden Ball, so I don't know if I can say that. But what's the guy's name, Gooner, from Real Salzburg?
Adeyemi.
Yep, that's the one.
Adeyemi.
Yep.
Nobody likes Camavinga.
I don't know
Defensive
Portuguese, man. I don't know about Portuguese players anymore. I mean,
So I have a play, and I'm going to ask you, Edwin, from the business side, what you think about FIFA, and that'd be it. But I have a play because we always like to add value that I think is going to be the Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, LeBron card. Iconic, maybe even more iconic for soccer.
Oh, he's pulling up his Beckham card.
This card. Do you think this becomes the most iconic card in soccer, or one of them?
Sorry, who is the players? Ronaldo
Beckham,
in the middle?
Ronaldo, and Zlatan.
Who's the other guy?
Beckham,
Beckham.
Ronaldo,
Oh,
Zlatan. 2006 Panini.
Wow. Man, it's so funny. Zlatan gets so much bad rep because he's such an asshole, but he's such a great player. Wow, what a card. Never seen that.
What a card, right? And think about the personality. Like, this is he's the in-sync of soccer. Ronaldo is just straight edge. You know, his dad was an alcoholic, so he doesn't drink. And then Zlatan, he's just like the bad boy of the hobby.
Yeah,
like,
incredible.
How much more dynamic of a card, and they're all great in their own right.
And I think Zlatan is so undervalued in the market. I don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
He's going down as one of the greatest players. Love him or hate him, but he's 40 years old. He's still playing. 41. Crazy.
Miles, am I onto something?
I think it's a really nice sticker. I mean, the harder, again, the harder part is trying to predict what people will want several years from now, right? Like, you know, I've experienced it myself where people get excited about a card and then it falls to the side because people discover something that they prefer more, right? Like, I would try to anticipate what the market will want, and that's such a hard thing in this space. But they're the right players and it's the right year. It's got all the ingredients. We'll have to see if it takes with the market, right?
Yeah.
Soccer
Last
fans,
question.
very, very territorial, very country specific, very team specific, right? So the reason why triple cards sometimes work is if it's the only rookie for them, like your Bird, Magic, Julius Erving, right? Doesn't always work. Bosh, Wade, LeBron. There's no LeBron fan who says, I want that triple card as the LeBron card I want. There's no Wade fan, no Bosh fan that says, that's the card I want. Because the guys who thought Wade was the best, they think LeBron wasn't. They think it was Wade's team and not LeBron. In soccer, I think it's that even magnified. You're going to have fans of Beckham. You're going to have fans of Zlatan. You might not have fans of both or all three of those guys. And Beckham's going to want a card with Beckham on it. The Zlatan guy's going to want a card with Zlatan on it. So I think that's the tough part about that card, even more so in soccer than in any other place.
I agree with you because I've seen autos that contain Rooney. And to me, Rooney is just, I don't know. Rooney's Rooney. He was a great player. But, honestly, other than that bicycle kick, great bicycle kick. But I wouldn't want him on a card with some of the other great players. So I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, like you've seen them, right? They're with Pele and Messi and Ronaldo,
Correct.
and it's Rooney there, right?
Yep.
It's just who are you trying? Like, what demographic are you targeting, right? Like, am I trying to target selling this card to like a bunch of Americans that don't really know soccer that well, and you just like slap Rooney like frivolously onto something? If you're trying to appeal to someone more hardcore, right? Like, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate in the comments for this. Beckham really wasn't that great, right? Like, he was a very, very, very good player, but he was never like, we're in a conversation like with Cruyff and Van Basten, right? He was never at that level and never got to that level. So like the disconnect, right? I could easily say that like Ronaldo is a GOAT and he's tied to two very good players.
FIFA, here to stay. Edwin, let's say I made you commissioner of soccer. Do you keep FIFA? Do you eliminate it? What do you do?
So I'm going to be super biased and European. I'd have the World Cup in Europe every 4 years. That's it.
Wouldn't that make it a Europe Cup?
Always in Europe. Come on. Maybe North America is a good idea, but listen, FIFA. I just read Sepp Blatter. Now he's blaming Platini for bribery. Come on, it's ridiculous, right? We need a governing body. I understand it, but it's like politics. You take you got to take that out of the game, unfortunately. I hope that Qatar is going to be a great World Cup and that people do shed a light on the fact that thousands of people are dying building stadiums and getting paid next to nothing. It's a huge topic in Dutch soccer, talk shows. I don't hear a lot of it here on the radio. It's kind of odd to me that, especially the US with their human rights activism and so forth, doesn't speak out about it as much as other European countries. But FIFA, man.
LeBron will tweet storm about it very soon.
Hey, be nice. Listen, we know Gooner's got to go. Here's what I got to say on this, and then Andrew, you can take it home. I love these episodes because, I joke. I know a little bit about almost everything, but I definitely don't know a lot about soccer. Some of the names you guys are throwing out here today, I've never heard of before. Right? I love episodes like this because I want to stop listening and I want to go on eBay and I want to go on YouTube and I want to learn more. Right. And that's what I think we're trying to bring to folks here. You're trying to expand the hobby. You're trying to, I want to go find cool cards now of some of the players you guys have named, or go watch YouTube footage of some of the guys, because I didn't watch soccer. I hardly watch soccer now. And I hope that some folks listening got the same kind of feel right now that I have, which is I want to go and do more research. And that's kind of what the hobby's about, So thank you guys for that. I really do appreciate it.
I really enjoyed being on the show. Much appreciate. Anytime you guys want to reach out and talk topics, I'd love to be on it. I just really enjoyed this. This is a lot of fun for me.
So can you tell people where they could find you? So I added it here on YouTube. It's at AjaxSportsCards14.
Correct. That's on Instagram. Hit me up for anything and take a look at the cards I have. I have a diverse group. And again, I always post interesting stuff, and feel free to hit me up anytime.
Yeah, and guys, Miles is a must follow at LAFC.Gooner. If you can't watch the games, you'll get these kind of story posts with video clips and updates of what's going on. So it's super, super important. Any final words?
Educational page. Not a lot of people have that. I'm stupid. He's educational. It's a lot of fun. It's good. I appreciate it, man.
Any final words before we go?
May Haaland win the World Cup once.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Yep. Appreciate you guys having us.
Thank you,
guys.
All right,
you dirty Dutch bastard. I watched Goldmember. I apologize. I watched it.